Je vous servirai avec humilité, avec force. Je vous servirai au nom de notre devise, liberté, égalité, fraternité.
In 1789, France set out with the promise of liberty, equality, and fraternity. However, these values were never extended to Africa, a hugely rich continent it exploited for centuries. Those promises were swiftly replaced by a systematic regime of occupation and plunder. The first target of the colonial French military was Algeria, then a part of the Ottoman Empire. While attempting to seize dominance in the Mediterranean, France encountered a fierce resistance as Turkish and Algerian soldiers fought shoulder to shoulder. However, the wave of French invasion did not recede. In 1837, missionaries in Gabon forced the local population to convert, and by 1842, they had breached the shores of Guinea. Despite being banned by the Congress of Vienna in 1815, Senegal's Kori Island was transformed into a slave trade hub where human dignity was utterly disregarded. 6 million people were uprooted from the continent in shackles. Hundreds of thousands perished during this dark, brutal voyage. Amid the inhumane exploitation, African wealth flowed directly to Paris. The subjugation of Mauritania, the looting of coffee and cocoa resources in Côte d'Ivoire, and the colonization of the Congo by Belgium followed. By the end of the 19th century, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Benin, and Chad were plunged into the darkness of French rule. Even the island nation of Madagascar on the other side of the continent. Historic centers of civilization like Bamako, Agadez, Ségou, Wadi, Tibetsi, and Zinder fell one by one. Peaceful populations were subjected to massacres regardless of victims' ages, and villages were razed down in an atrocious manner. Those who fought against French colonialism were imprisoned, exiled, or executed. In 1881, France attacked Tunisia and then Morocco in 1912. They also seized Togo and Cameroon in 1918 as war booty from the defeated Germans.
Il y a eu énormément de massacres. Je crois que le massacre le plus emblématique, c'est celui de Kité dans la Sanaga maritime dans la nuit du 30 au 31 décembre 1956. Donc, l'armée française a pratiquement massacré tout un village. On parlait de 500 morts complètement, des civils, des armées qui ont été massacrés dans ce village. Le rapport Amondi en parle, bien évidemment, mais il n'y a pas que cet aspect-là. Il y a énormément d'exactions qui ont été commises, mais toujours est-il que ce massacre d'Équité a retenu l'attention. Et je pense que la France a besoin, peut-être non pas de parler avec le gouvernement, mais parler directement avec les victimes.
With World War II, the tragedy took on a new dimension. France forcibly sent African soldiers to the front lines in Europe into a hell they did not know, with false promises of prosperity. Those who refused to fight faced execution, while their families were held hostage back home. The years of war in Europe brought nothing but poverty, famine, and death to Africa. Between the 19th century and the mid-20th, France occupied over 35% of Africa, carrying out massive massacres. During this dark era, more than 2 million people lost their lives, leaving behind a great shame for humanity. Independence movements were suppressed with extreme violence. On May 8, 1945, Algerians demanding freedom were gunned down in Sétif and Guelma. In the cycle of violence that lasted until 1962, nearly 1 million people died in Algeria alone. The legacy of abuse continued into the 1990s, where French negligence was exposed during the 1994 Rwandan genocide, which claimed 800,000 lives. Despite these atrocities, France refuses to let African countries off its grip due to political and economic interests. Controlling the national reserves of former colonies and reaping billions in revenue, the continent's natural resources remain a matter of survival for Paris. So much so that they bombed Libya in 2011 and Mali in 2013 to sustain these centuries-old plunder. However, the era is changing. While the doors of French bases are being locked by African nations, the traces of the former colonizer are being erased from the streets and squares of the Sahel.
However, the African people have a negative view on French military or on France and its influence, because especially in the last 2 decades, many African countries have been following a negative policy towards France and its influence in Africa. Many African diplomats or politicians have not been viewing France and its existence in Africa as a positive thing because France has not changed its colonial mindset towards African people or African countries.
France now faces the shame of its massacres and the rightful anger of the lands from which it is being expelled.